we're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot over the years is cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And in the past year or two, it felt to me that you had shifted your view about them a little bit and actually got excited to think that maybe Bitcoin and others could get interesting. And I'm curious how you think about that now in terms of whether that's actually an inflation hedge or maybe it isn't.
No, I think, let me clarify again, because some people make stereotypical. I think that cryptocurrencies, in particular, I think blockchain's great, but let's call it a digital gold.
Right.
I think a digital gold, which would be a Bitcoin type of thing, is something that probably, in the interest of diversification of finding an alternative to gold, has a little spot relative to gold and then relative to other assets. But I think that we're in an environment that we're now going to ask, what is the new money? Okay, so meaning fiat currencies. And when we look at currencies, you hold currencies in the form of a debt.
Right.
And so when I say cash is trash, what I mean is that all currencies, in relationship to the euro, in relationship to the yen, all of those currencies, like in the 1930s,
right,
will be currencies that will go down in relationships to goods and services. And we are in an environment where we're going to be looking at what are those assets, what is the type of money that you could move between countries that's a medium of exchange and a storehold of wealth. And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm saying that Bitcoin has made a tremendous achievement over the last 11 years of being able to. It's a tiny percentage of my portfolio. I think the Bitcoin people get too preoccupied with it. The gold bugs get too preoccupied with it. And I think you have to look at the broader set of assets that serve that purpose.
So we keep asking the same question of everybody. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen to this crazy economy of ours?
Well,
what do you see happening here?
I think, three major themes that we have to understand, right? The creation of too much debt and too much money, right? Mm-hmm. In amounts that never existed in our lifetime, but existed many times in the past, in the 1930 to 45 period, number one. So we'll talk about that, I hope. Number two is the internal conflict, populism of the left and the right, and what that is doing both politically, and that, of course, have economic considerations. And number three is the rising of great powers to challenge the existing great power and the existing world order. Now, if you bring those things down, here we are having a monetary policy. Okay, where are we in the monetary policy? And what's the big question? So if you want me to answer that, I'll give you.
So I think, right, I think that big question is, can the Fed effectively reduce demand without breaking the back of the economy?
Okay. And rather than just jumping to the answer, I always like to deal with the mechanics behind the answer, you know? And I think the answer is no, but here's the reason why. An interest rate, when there's a lot of debt, one man's debts are another man's financial assets. Mm-hmm. And they have to balance both of those things. And so they will not be able to raise interest rates to a high enough level to adequately provide a real return to investors. So if you think about the rise in rates, mm-hmm, and we say 3% is an interest rate,
right,
or even 4% in an interest rate, that is not going to be an amount of money that's adequate to compensate for the inflation rate. And we're in a paradigm shift, I think. A paradigm is, something happens for 10 years, an environment for 10 years, and at the end of that 10 years, people believe everything that happened in the prior 10 years, and then they get a surprise.
Right.
And then they start to change. And something like, for example, cash is a safe investment, or bonds are a safe investment after a 40-year bull market and those types of things. That begins to shift as they start to think, am I getting a real return? So there's going to be a supply-demand balance. Most importantly, the Federal Reserve is going to sell, individuals are selling, foreigners are selling, and the U.S. government is selling because it has to fund its deficit. So there's going to be a supply-demand problem that means that it produces a squeeze because so much money was put out at such cheap rates and so much financing was taken that it'll be difficult to achieve that balance.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have Ray Dalio, one of the few who talks about the rising power of China. And we can hear the drums beating. But Ray Dalio calls Bitcoin the digital gold, the new money. And he clearly stated that fiat currencies are over, and we know it is. They will slowly roll out the robots, algorithms, and drones, and then we'll start the hyper deflation. But before we get there, they gotta bring America to his knees. We know the Fed created 20% of all money in existence in 1 year. That's what caused all this inflation. So the NWO causes the problem. Wait for the reaction and run in with the solution. And we see all the chaos going on. But we know there's order out of chaos. They printed the money, put all these people out of work, raise wages, which is soon enough is going to be a problem. And then also the supply chain. And what's the solution? The robots, algorithms, and drones and cryptos. And right now we have stocks and cryptos pumping and dumping because like Ray Dalio stated, everybody's selling. And we know Larry Fink's Aladdin is controlling it all. It's a bot running the whole system. And now we have Biden telling the truth. We're going to be going through some pain. Inflation is going to get worse because they want to move us over to clean energy. And I've done several videos with Jerome Powell talking about climate change, climate agenda. We know they made trillions of dollars with oil. Actually took over the world with the petrodollar. Now it's time to make trillions and trillions of dollars moving us over to clean energy. And that's all we keep hearing about is carbon credits because everything you do will be tracked. And remember the Crypto Teacher told you because he knows. When it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Have been induced or because of the maybe Larry Fink, he's running a big financial institution, doesn't want hydrocarbon production, so he's pressuring these companies. So it predates the Biden. I would certainly blame it on the left side of the equation and on climate hysteria is one of the reasons that we've gotten to this point. But it's not Biden. It's everywhere. It's in Europe. You can't look anywhere where there isn't pressure being brought to bear on fossil fuel companies to leave fossil fuels in the ground.
Well, you can look at the United States in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And listen, I agree with you. Does Wall Street bear some of the responsibility? Absolutely. Does Larry Fink personally? There's a Larry Fink surcharge. Every time you fill up your tank, you can thank Larry for the massive and inappropriate ESG pressure. And by the way, when Trump was president, one of the things I sat in the Oval Office with him and urged him to press back against Wall Street using ESG to try to leverage and force people to stop energy production. America being energy independent is incredibly important for our national security and also for the vibrancy of our economy.
Greener options. Watch this.
And when it comes to the gas prices, we're going through an incredible transition that is taking place that, God willing, when it's over, we'll be stronger and the world will be stronger and less reliant on fossil fuels when this is over. This is going to be a haul. This is going to take some time.
Here to discuss.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance, agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.